Oh, hello. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Just Gaming Tingz, the all queer gaming podcast of your dreams. My name is Project Ruby. Hello. Joining me today, we have the lovely Dextralicious. Hi.
Hi, hello.
The delightful Koga Jangles.
Hello.
The legendary Lotus.
Hi.
The icon pants.
Hi.
Me trying to come up with something for everyone. I'm like, oh no, I really backed myself into a corner.
Come on, thesaurus.
Here we are with an episode where we're going to be talking about Nintendo being Nintendo. Last week was almost like celebratory. We're like, yes, all these fun things coming from Nintendo. Look at us go. We're eating, sis. And then this week it's like, oh, we're getting food taken away from us, sis. So what happened was I feel like stealthily, or at least they tried to make it pretty stealth. Nintendo decided to tweet that they're essentially discontinuing the 3DS and Wii U eShops. And as you can probably imagine, the internet kind of exploded. And obviously everyone had their own reasons to, and everyone had their own reactions. So let's ask the audience and the wonderful co-host that I have here with me today. What was your initial reaction when you saw the tweet that shook Twitter for that day? Other things probably happened since then that shook it, but you know. I look pants.
Why me?
Because you're next to me. I'm like, hi.
Listen, I want to give someone else a chance. I want to talk less this episode.
Now I want to talk less.
I talk too much these episodes. I'm talking less this day.
No, you don't.
Oh my God.
You talk just enough in my heart.
Well, I guess I'll start. So my thing about it is, I know I feel like we've talked about it in multiple episodes, just Nintendo being rotted, especially about emulations too. And it's just the fact that, like, this is not going to go on emulations though, but it's just like we're losing a lot of classic games, just like yearly it feels. And it's just like, so how are we going to be able to play these games that we wanted if, like, we're not able to purchase them at this point anymore? Or if you want to purchase them, then you're going to need, like, I guess the physical edition, which is going to be a disgusting amount of money and doesn't even really go to, like, Nintendo's pockets anyway. It goes into, like, scalpers' pockets and, high resellers and everything. So we're just, like, losing a big catalog. And I'm glad, like, yes, they are porting some stuff, but it's not everything to warrant, like, oh, yay, like, at least, like, this game is on the, the Switch now, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, great, now I'm going to lose access to this and that. What else I'm going to lose, I feel like it just feels like you're just losing more things through Nintendo every year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a very, I'm only saying yearly. It really feels like yearly. It could be less, but I'm giving them slightly a benefit. But it's just like we're just losing the catalog more and more. And, I feel like, yes, at least they have, like, the Nintendo service that's, like, starting to, like, put in classics, but it's not enough. It's not everything. So, like, we can't really be like, oh, yay, let's cheer for this when, like, this amount of games and, like, a lot of fan favorites aren't available to everybody unless they finally decide to, like, port it, which they said in the notes they don't have plans to.
So, redacted notes.
No.
Like, actually redacted.
Literally buried in and everything. And it's like, and it's really strange that they actually had to like put that in there too. I think that's like something that we have to really point out is that it's not like, oh, they are pretty to the point with it. I don't think they're like very too vague about anything, but they're like, we do need to put this in the FAQ section that states that we are not going to like pour everything over, and it's over. You're going to just lose games, and and they're just like, deal with it, and then they go around and sue people who are helping get these classic games available to everybody. So that's my little rant. I don't know if I made sense.
Oh, you made
No, it made
sense.
sense.
Yeah. I just feel like with Nintendo, it's just like I feel like they just want to reach for crumbs at this point. Like I feel like they'd be like, "Oh, these people are emulating. We're gonna sue," and it's just like, "But where is it available?" And then they're like, "Oh, on the original consoles from 50 years ago." So we're like, "Okay, well, you're gonna give us that instead?" And they're just gonna be like, "No," and it's just very unfortunate because like as somebody that's basically played basically every generation of Nintendo apart from like GameCube, I've been able to just like experience all of this happen firsthand, like especially like when everything first started with the Wii and they like took down like internet support and like the Wii shop from that, and like that's when I just felt like everything was going downhill because in order for everybody to preserve games that they wanted to do, they had to emulate, or if they wanted to preserve the online stuff, they had to literally make their own servers. Like Mario Kart Wii's community is like still going because people had to keep up the server themselves because other people weren't doing because Nintendo sure wasn't. So it's just I feel like at least earlier, apart from the Wii shop, I understand like taking down like the internet functions, I guess, because like maybe that would like bother like the servers and stuff, but it's just like taking down like the shops makes zero sense to me because it's like that's just going to be income to y'all. Like I'm sure people are still going to be buying stuff, especially for the 3DS because technically it's still the current like mobile game system that they have. So like logistically it's still there even though they're not really making games for it. But it's just I don't know. I just think they're really shooting themselves in the foot, but I think they don't care. I just feel like they're very hateful. They don't want anybody to have anything.
Definitely very greedy for sure. Like this gives like this reminds me of like the back in the day, way back in my day when Disney had the thing where like they would sell like a certain amount of like VHS tapes
The
for
Disney
like
Vault.
yeah. Like they would sell let me explain it for the Gen Zs and the audience.
I know her. I've seen you start up the CD
you start up
and
the
it's like
VHS and they're like from the Disney Vault.
and then
Yeah.
Tinkerbell goes across.
Yeah. Is that what it is?
So for those of you who only know Disney from Disney Plus, back in my day, they used to do a thing where basically they would release their VHSs in like chunks. So like it was basically a thing where like, oh, you bought Cinderella, and like whenever it's like sold out, then well, good luck finding it within the next like year or two, because then they want to do a special re-release and then have the promo be like, oh, we're taking it out of the vault kind of thing. And that's what Nintendo is giving right now with this, or I mean what they have been giving truly, because it reminds me of that, because it's like they don't want anyone to have access to games that aren't available on the Switch. From this is what I'm gathering. Obviously this is not anything that they've said, but from what I'm gathering, the messaging that they're putting out is like anything before the Switch is irrelevant until it comes to the Switch and you have to pay for it again. And they want to make sure that you don't get it, you know, through third parties or through internet resources and, you know, your pirating ways. But it's almost like we don't need to, we shouldn't have to live by like your schedule, Nintendo. Like if we want to play a specific game that came out in like 2012 and was available on the Wii U shop and like isn't available on the Nintendo Switch shop, then I should be able to play it. Or like, you know, or maybe you shouldn't be so aggressive about people who make it available, you know, like it is definitely like greedy, like weird behavior where they want to be in control of the narrative and provide some sort of like false sense of like scarcity when we all know that there's ways of accessing these games, but from their perspective, they want to be the ones who determine whether or not we have access to it. It's a power move, essentially, I feel, more than anything. Because, like, Nintendo, if there's anyone who can afford to maintain a shop for a console or a handheld that isn't really being supported, it's Nintendo. Like, they could keep that shit going for years upon years, and, like, it's not like they're going to go bankrupt. So it's a weird decision to me, but, yeah. That's what's giving me.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, I don't know. Like, it sucks, but I can't say I'm surprised. Like, they did it with the DS, they did it with the Wii.
Right.
I knew the 3DS was coming, most definitely for sure. Or with both of them, because I mean, the Switch kind of does both. It does the handheld, it does the home console. So at some point, Nintendo, they're going to close it, which I don't know how much it costs for them to do that. No, I guess they put in their FAQ. Hold on. Like,
The
why is
saltiest way I've ever heard someone say FAQ.
The infamous FAQ.
It says, why is this happening? This is part of the natural life cycle of any product line as it becomes less used by consumers over time. I mean, I can't speak for the 3DS, but I mean, I can see that for the Wii U, because let's be real, most of you fuckers out here didn't buy one. That's why they ported everything over to the Switch, and it sold like hotcakes. But anyway,
the two Wii U owners
I
are
used to
here
have
today.
But it's like, so I don't know how much that costs, but it's like you're not making those games available on the Switch for whatever reason. So you got until there's actually different points of time that people need to be aware of with this one, because it's not just it going away next year. It starts to become like a real pain in the ass starting in 2 months. On May the 23rd, you're no longer able to use a credit card to add funds to an account on either one of them. That's 2 months. So, you know, you better, those checks that you got coming in for what? The, I can't think of it, but you know what it is.
The stimulus.
Your taxes.
I mean, that's the.
You better,
tax returns.
Return.
throw them all at Nintendo.
No,
Don't encourage them.
He couldn't even say that with a straight face.
I
couldn't
can't
even
it's so
finish it.
ridiculous. But on August the 29th of this year, you'll no longer be able to add funds with the Nintendo eShop. So it seems like, I don't know, I guess after the 29th, you're just not going to be able to, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and read this to be sure. As of August 29, 2022, it will no longer be possible to use Nintendo eShop card to add funds to an account on Nintendo eShop on the Wii U or the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. However, it will still be possible to redeem download codes until March. So pretty much after August 29th, you can't even just really buy anything. You have to like get like a code off of like, I don't know, somewhere, Amazon, or be careful with all that nonsense, honestly. And then after, when they close it in March 2023, which they didn't even give a date, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's like March the 1st. The only thing you're going to be able to do for real is just re-download games you already have. I mean, at least that, I guess. But it's like, a lot of the Metroid games are going to be gone again. So it's like, you're not really going to have an option to do it. They didn't put most of them on the Switch. I know, like, Super Metroid is, but they're about to lose like a lot of games, especially digital only games that you just can't get. And I don't know, like this is Nintendo, so it's not like I can't be surprised. I can't act surprised. It's like, of course they did, of course, and of course they're gonna keep doing it this way. I'm not saying I agree with it, but is this not Nintendo?
Right,
Of course it is.
exactly.
So it's like, yeah, so they're gonna get upset about people pirating and things like that, which, I mean, if you don't make it available, I don't know what to tell you. But don't be one of these fools who just publicly makes money off of them and think they're not going to come at you. Just don't do that, please. Don't do that. But by other means, you know what to do.
You can buy a handheld that's specifically made for streaming services that runs on Android, and you know, whatever happens.
Listen, you just use the internet, you just do a couple clicks, and next thing you know, you make shit happen.
Next thing you know, you're able to play Wind Waker in full HD on your computer.
But you didn't hear it from us, of course. Spin said in the chat, maybe they saw the mess with the PS3 shop and were like, let's make everyone panic buy these games real quick. Yeah.
They invented the mess with the PS3 eShop, because let's not forget what happened with the Super Mario 3D All-Star Collection.
Oh my
where
god.
the entire purpose was to create like the fear of missing out and say,
Mhm.
you have until this date to buy it and then no one can have it. Oops.
And you can still find them in the stores. Like
You
it ain't
still can't
shit.
find them in this
They tried so
Yeah.
hard to make it a thing, and it's like, no, Walmart is not gonna pull every single
Right.
copy of this game.
Like, what y'all gonna do? Throw it away? Like,
Literally. What was the other one? Oh, it was Fire Emblem, but that was digital only. So then, like, literally, people got to lose out on, like,
Yeah.
old Fire Emblem because they're like, you only got, like, 2 months. And everybody was more focused on Mario.
Right.
They're like, y'all saw something?
And also because the
Yeah.
physical version was like a collector's edition that was like too expensive for a game that old.
How much
But they
was it?
were
Wait, no?
Yeah, they did a physical
For
with
the
a-
Fire Emblem one.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. It came with like a map and all that, and it was like too much, I remember.
Yeah, it was like
That's too
really.
much.
I think it was
Okay.
like pins or something, like something that like really nobody probably cared about.
Right, unless you're like a super hardcore stan, which I get, but like, but at least with the Mario All Stars thing, at least, you know, we can still get it in retailers and there's not much of like a panic with that sense. But with Fire Emblem, it's either like you get digital or you get like collector's edition. It's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't even know if I'll like the game because it's never been available before or something like that. So it's like, yeah, Nintendo is just, ugh. Ugh.
Really a mess. It sucks because it's like love a lot of their catalog, but like they just screw up their whole user base so much that it's just kind of like, what's the like? I always kind of question like, why am I still here?
Right.
And they really do have the hold of like nostalgia, which is
Yeah.
funny.
Mhm.
Like they don't really let you actually have the nostalgia. They're like they just keep building up new games because like yes, Kirby's coming out, the new Pokemon came out, Legend of Zelda is coming out. You know, like there's so much of their older games. I guess there's talks about a new Donkey Kong game that I know has been rumored for a while coming out, and I'm like, y'all have you're making like new games, but like give us the old games too.
Mhm.
Oh, they
Yeah.
will. They're just
They're
gonna
like, they
wait
do.
a little bit to like justify the wait for like another port, and then people will buy it all
Yep.
over again. Like, how many people have you heard of, or do you know that, or are you even that person who bought like 1,000 copies of like a specific Legend of Zelda game because it was available on like all the reiterations of the Nintendo consoles that they've released? And like, I know that people have done that with so many games, with Skyrim, with Final Fantasy, with like literally so many.
RE4?
Yeah, literally like
Ace Attorney.
yeah.
I look away.
And Nintendo basically invented that. They invented the concept of like, oh, that game is available on the SNES, but also available on Game Boy, and then a new version on Game Boy Color, and then a new version on Game Boy Advance, and then a new like they've been like the creators essentially of that concept. So the funny it was funny / infuriating reading the FAQ because there was a part of it that was like, people were basically like, what are we going to do now? And they were like, well, we do have like a classic library on our Nintendo Switch online. And I was like, mama, y'all just added N64 games. And
They
y'all
were like 130 games, and I'm like, okay, like I can go to a GameStop and see like 500,000. Like you're gonna tell me 130? Like it's like the Louvre.
Like
or
it's
whatever.
And like,
Right.
let's not forget, you don't own those fucking games.
No.
Like you don't own them. You can't have them. If anything happens, you're like done for.
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like-
yeah.
Nintendo is like Turbo Disney because gaming is younger and like in the grand scheme of media, Nintendo's like a pretty young company that they were able to use Disney as a blueprint and then like turn it up to 10 essentially. Like like Disney controls their vaulted stuff, but now, if I want to watch Monsters Inc., I have like 10 places I can watch it, and I can also probably find one at a Best Buy like right now.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's why they did the vault, whereas Nintendo's like, no, everything is technically digital now, and like, a modern Blu-ray player will play like shitty old CDs, but a Switch cannot fit like a GameCube disc. So they just
Right.
know that they have full and total control of everything that they've ever made, except for
Mhm.
emulation.
This is why I keep telling y'all need to join the PC Master Race, and then trust me, this problem goes away real quick. All you gotta do is take your games and then put them in your disc juggler, and then just put them on your hard drive.
But I
You
don't
can
have
even get a
anything
copy.
to sit
You can
on
get
my
2 hard
couch
drives.
and play my PC games. is the thing.
Pants, don't get on this again.
Okay, look,
No,
if
Dan,
we're
no,
gonna
you're
do
not sitting
that,
on your couch.
the Steam Deck is coming
I
out.
lay on my couch watching YouTube videos, being like, "Wow, I wonder what I can. Why can't I play this PC game?"
The Steam Deck is coming, cook is right.
The Steam Deck is coming out, so you're not going to be able to use that excuse much longer.
even have like more. I know this is derailing it, but like, do we even have more information on the Steam Deck? I haven't
Yeah,
heard.
people have them in hand, like reviewers do.
It plays
Oh,
Street Fighter
right.
5.
I didn't even know it came
Listen,
out. Honestly,
That's all you need to know.
It's not out. Review
Oh, okay,
machines
review.
are out. It looks pretty good. It's very big though, and I have small hands. So I don't know.
Chunky.
I also
I
have
think it's
tiny
great.
hands.
I think
And
they may
sometimes
have
the bigger the
announced
better.
like when the first wave is coming out, but I'm not.
Wasn't it
I
quarter
can't
two?
remember.
It is,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like when I had mine, it was supposed to be like quarter 2, but a lot of them are like quarter 4.
Remember when the like biggest version was supposed to be quarter 2?
We all
It
knew that
literally
shit
was
wasn't
like,
happening.
we'll see you in 2023. Honestly.
Right.
Listen, if you look up Steam Deck on the internet, let's just say that one of the first results that pops up has to do with what we're talking about today. So I'm
Literally,
not gonna
that's what everybody's gonna use it for.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but even outside
know
of
you
Steam Deck, there's other hardware
Oh, yeah.
and other
There's a
resources.
whole retro handheld market, baby. I may or may not have ordered one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Use your
come
phone.
on.
We'll see.
Yeah. So listen, we're not telling you what to do, but don't let Nintendo tell you what to do either. Okay? They don't need your money. Unless you want to play like one of their newest, flashiest games, and you want to like.
But
you know,
even then,
consume.
I mean, even then,
if you
because
got
remember
that
how
PC,
fast, remember how fast Metroid
Dread.
came out, and
That
people were
was before
so
its
mad.
release.
And it was like, "Hey, y'all need to be buying it." I'm like, "Look, yes, I'm using an emulator, but I have a copy right here." Like, chill. People were like
Yeah, I
really
mean-
unfriendly about that. So like
Right,
the
people
thing
are
is,
mad.
And then it ended up still being successful. Like,
I'm like, chill the fuck
Exactly.
out. People who pirate, it's not as big as people who buy it. But I mean,
No.
but the thing is like, if you have a good PC, you'll be fine. If you're concerned about that, I say just dump your games on your computer. You'll be fine. That's
Mhm.
it. And older
Allegedly.
games.
I'm just doing the
People get
damage
so
control. I'm just like
upset.
allegedly.
No, it's fine.
I mean, that's
we
just how I
get you.
am.
We get you.
Like, I guess I am because like I got a stack of games like over like right there, and they're like this high. They're like right there. Do you see them? Right there.
Mhm,
I'm
yeah.
not talking
Wait,
about
wrong way.
those two things though. But right there.
But I don't understand why people get so mad if like people emulate. It's like, oh, so y'all just want to keep supporting capitalism. That's what you're
Right.
saying.
Like,
Fans
Y'all
are
wanna
just
give me
out
a
of their minds.
console to
Like
play it.
I can get it if it's a game series that like needs the sales, which I know Metroid hasn't done
Right.
as well as it should have in the past. But if it's something like Pokemon or something, who cares? It'll be fine regardless.
Literally.
Right.
And the
Pokemon
thing with Metroid too is they're like, single player games don't sell as well, so we're not going to be making as many Metroids. Metroid Dread sweeps Game of the Year awards, sells bukus of copies, and they're still removing all that shit from the eShop, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them up. I think like on the Wii U, that was probably like the best way to play like the older games. They have a lot of them
Uh-huh.
up there, and they're like all about to be gone. That includes even ones that was on the Wii, the GameCube and the Wii. The Metroid Prime series, you can get those on there. So better buy all that now.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Acquire.
Acquire them very quickly.
Access them.
Mm-hmm.
Get your hands on your virtual hands, perhaps, on some of those juicy titles. Like Nintendo used to be so good at stuff like that. I remember like the GameCube had a thing where you could like plug
the Wii
in
with the GameCube.
yeah, like
Yeah.
virtual consoles and stuff like that. Like Nintendo basically created that as well, and it's like they're just throwing it all away. Where they could have just kept that ecosystem going. And like I get it if they wanted like the Switch to like, you know, not have a disc drive and stuff like that, but still maintain that and allow us to play stuff digitally. Like why not? Like why could you purchase like Pokemon Red on your 3DS and somehow you can't buy it, you can access it on your Switch? Like why wouldn't you? Like
Yeah.
to me it's
They're
just
gonna make
silly.
you- They're gonna make you wait. And the
Oh,
thing is,
yeah.
a lot of things, it's a lot of things that don't make sense. Here's the thing: a lot of people still don't know that the Wii U could have actually played GameCube games. They just didn't like program it to do it. But I guess like if you like mod it, it's possible to do it. But for some reason, Nintendo just didn't make it officially able to do so. So it's like that's the kind of shit that Nintendo does, where they
Yeah.
literally just took a feature out and they're like, you can do that. Just mod and put it back on. And don't worry, that's totally legal. So just do that and put your GameCube games in there and it works.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but the fact that I'm like, why didn't y'all just let people do that?
Modders are just like saints.
Next level.
Backbone of the
Literally.
community.
They just like they managed to do what we all think or like we were told is impossible, and then they're like, oh, you mean this? You mean like you oh, here Nintendo was like, it's impossible to play this game at 60 FPS, and then they're like, oh, this game, oh, never mind.
Well, I've been saying that for like a good almost decade, ever since I built my first PC. And then like people like games would come out and things, and they have the developers, they would, because unfortunately they got to be put on like the front lines, and then be like, this is why we can't do this, and then someone like fixes it in like 24 hours, and I'm like, so this person who didn't get paid fixed this in like a day.
Literally.
But y'all, okay,
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, I had something that I forgot about earlier, but I thought would be a really good idea, and I don't know why Nintendo doesn't do this. But hire me, Nintendo, because listen. I just think about how like literally I've had the same Nintendo account since like forever, literally. Why can I not? I feel like it would make a lot of sense if I could just take the games that I purchased on previous consoles and just, you know, move them to whatever new one it is. So let's bring it to the Switch, the ones that I bought from like the Wii and Wii U
Right.
and 3DS. Like what that should be something that could be carried over, because it's like I paid for these games. Like if you're gonna, they're already starting to do like the cloud system with like Kingdom Hearts, whatever. But like, what about a cloud system with like previous purchases? Like that would be
Right.
great.
no,
Because
they
then
want you to
like
buy them
nobody's
full
like
price again.
losing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. They
Yeah.
do. They're greedy, so they probably
The-
would never do it. But it would make so much sense, because then it's like, oh, then I would love to play. You know, pay maybe like a little bit more. Probably not, but I'm saying that only just to wink, wink, nudge them a little bit. But like, it would make so much sense to be like, okay, I now have all the games that were attached to my account from previous consoles, and now I can actually play them on like a different console. Like, make that happen, so I'm not losing out. So then like, what if I sell my console eventually, you know, that I'm not losing out on the games that I would have played, because now I have to just keep them, and then I got no space. I got no space over here to keep consoles everywhere.
Right.
So that's my dilemma anyway.
Like I'm not trying to give them ideas to get people to spend more money.
They
But
probably
I-
already thought of it.
But I will say this. I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't done a thing. Like, if you want to keep making money from people and still keep them somewhat happy, they could have come up with some sort of hardware where people would put in a disc and like somehow copy the contents of that disc into a Nintendo licensed like little cartridge so that you could play it on your Switch. And instead of having people not being able to play them, then you could have that and you would make money from like the weird Nintendo licensed hardware. I just thought of that because it's like with Xbox, like you can literally take like a 360 game with like the disc that you own and put it in, and like most of them are compatible by now, and you can just literally play them. And it's like, why hasn't Nintendo thought of something like that? Why doesn't Sony do something like that? Like
Because
it's just
they don't have a disc thing to do it, and that would cost money for them to do it, and they're not trying to spend money, and they know you're gonna buy it anyway, so we're just gonna stick to the original plan.
But the
True.
thing is,
Well,
they are
like, a lot of
spending money already,
PS4
though.
A lot of PS4 games are pretty compatible with the PS5.
Oh, I mean like
And-
backwards, like PS3, PS2, PS1,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
the
PS4
PS5
was
still
the most
uses
started.
discs.
PS3, but yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Sony gave you like the cloud. Be thankful.
No.
No, pirate them shits
Well, no, I
too.
mean, I put my disc into my PS5. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, I've done it with like at least PS4 games. I don't think I've
Yeah.
tried PS3.
Yeah, it's just with Xbox, you can go back to some 360 and some Xbox. While with PlayStation, it's like, all right, PS4, and then everything else, if it's available, you can play on the cloud. Hopefully, the input delay isn't atrocious, which sometimes it can be.
I've heard it's okay.
It depends. Like, it really depends on the game and what's happening. But if your connection is good, it's not like the worst thing. It's not the best ever. Like, I don't know. I'll give Stadia this. The fact that thing is going down the toilet is that the connection was like fine. But
I heard it was awful for Stadia.
I don't know. I didn't have a bad experience when I tried it. It was just that like when I tried it, it was actually good. It was not like, oh my god, a replacement for like physical playing it without delay. But it was pretty good for the times that I tried it. It's just that I can't justify paying full price the game I can only play on the cloud. Like they get rid of stuff all the time. What's gonna happen to all my games?
Yeah. What do we think this means for like the ownership of games? Because obviously I feel like the concept of owning a game is like going downhill. Like
it
has
is.
been going downhill. Because like the second we made games digital, I remember, of course, you know, the physical copy like fans were like, no, I'll never buy things digital because I want to own them and stuff like that. People were like, oh, you're being silly. And then PlayStation was like, we're taking down the PS3 store. And they're like, see?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to older people, especially who are like that, the harsh reality is they're not wrong. They're actually right. The problem is that these companies make it very convenient to where, well, some of them, to where it's like it's a trade that you're willing to take.
Yeah.
To where it's like, like it's going to be, you don't own the movie, but you can like, for a subscription service, you can just get to it like easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is because at some point they want to all do that. Like, remember, Microsoft tried this shit like in 2013 and people got mad. So it's not like they want to. They just have to like take their time. So I don't know, give it maybe like a few more generations. Then that generation is not going to know what it was like beforehand. And then and ain't no one going to listen to older people like us. But then I don't know, I might be 67 years old trying to tell them about the days of physical media. And they're like, who? What you talking about, granddad? If I have kids, which
Yeah. Like, because for me, it's like there's obviously the new gen consoles are already giving you the option to opt out of discs entirely. And then you look at Game Pass, and then you look at PlayStation Now, and then obviously PlayStation Now is going to allegedly evolve into a Game Pass like situation, allegedly. And then Nintendo is Nintendo. So it's I'm starting to become a little bit worried about first, like, people attributing the value of a subscription service and then looking at an indie game and being like, oh, I'm not paying for that game because I pay a little bit more than that and I have access to like hundreds of games. And it's like, but you don't really own them. Like, the second a game comes out of that subscription, if you were midway playing it, guess what? You're either buying it and which beats the purpose of the subscription service, or you're fully missing out on that game. And yeah, I've been kind of thinking about that a little bit. Like, what does that really mean for ownership of gaming? Because obviously we've seen music go down this path where somehow K-pop seems to be the only part of the music industry that still is maintaining physical copies relevant. But even that, people are not buying it because they want to own the music for the most part. They're buying it because they want the trinkets, they want the photo cards, they want all of these things. And so it really makes you think like that gaming is definitely going into that direction. And I wonder what y'all feel about that, because we all saw what's going on with the music situation, and then what happens when gaming takes that direction.
I mean, it's an unfortunate, it is the future of things. Like with music, like
Right.
it changed because, I mean, first of all, if you wanted one song and that was it, you had to buy a whole damn CD. You could have not liked the artist, but liked this one song, and you got to buy the whole CD. But if you buy it like digital, buy the song for like $2 tops, unless it goes up to $3, which hopefully we ain't hit that point yet. So I mean, the thing is, it's way too convenient, and that's
Yeah.
how they do it. It's people love cheaper and convenience. So you give them that, they will relinquish a little bit of control for that. So, like, for example, you talking about like an indie game could be like $10 to $15, but they would rather, say they can own that or just get Game Pass. I mean, let's just be honest. Game Pass is you get a lot for 15, including other games. And while you may not own it, most people don't care about it as much anyway, because some people don't go back to play older games. And people, if you really care about that, that option has not been taken away from you yet. So you can still go buy them. But it's like when they make it convenient, it's going to be, different. And sometimes it takes longer because some companies don't want to be like the first one to be like, all right, we're going all in. Well, except Microsoft, they kind of tried that a little bit. But I mean, it's the same thing like, with like, comics right now. Comics is kind of goddamn behind and doing shit like we're still in the 90s with how they release things, because none of them wants to be the one to be like, all right, we're going all digital and just making it free. But we're not free, but making it, cheaper. There's like subscription services, but none of them wants to be the one to just screw over the stores. And that's what, like, yeah, comic books, it's gonna happen at some point. Give it a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But like with gaming, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to happen. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying it's great. But just seeing how things are, how people are, and how to react to it, it's a future that's gonna happen. And I would prefer to always have an option to have both, but I already know. I'm not happy about it, but it's kind of like, well, it's happening. Not much you can really do unless you just buy all physical. But unfortunately, that will require everyone else to feel that way. And the newer generation of people, the younger generation who didn't have to grow up with it the way that we did, all they know is this convenience. I don't feel like going up to the store to go buy games. Like, it snowed over here 2 days ago. People are going to be like, wait a few days or just download it.
Right.
It's easy, it's convenient, and it's either the same price, if not cheaper, depending on what it is. So I hate to tell y'all, it's the future. It's gonna get worse, and unfortunately, there's not enough people who have an issue with it to completely stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Koga definitely brought up something that I was thinking about, which was basically, I feel like COVID also helped push a lot of like streaming and, digital and everything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like because everybody's stuck at home, that if you want entertainment, then you have to seek it digitally or like hope that you can like maybe mail it in or something. But like for the most part, everybody's just like, oh, instead of having like me wait a couple days so that something comes in, that people are just gonna go for the easiest convenience, which is now digital. As a physical girly, I don't like it. I do both, but I definitely like to have like tangible items most of the time still, like no matter what it is. So in my opinion, I hope that like there's always still like at least some physical items. I know you brought up comics. I don't think so. Like, yeah, there's digital, but I feel like with mainly like there's a big collector industry too. So like I don't think that's gonna go. And the same thing with like TCG. I don't think anything like that's gonna like go fully digital in a very long time. Like there are options, and it's mainly being pushed now because of quarantine and everything, because it's like, oh, if I want to go, if people want to do a tournament, you have to do it digital basically.
Right.
There's definitely ways to still probably like video in and everything, but there's at least like online software like the Pokemon TCG that people can like try to work around. But there's a lot of like still physical items that I feel like just cannot at this point like really thrive on digital. And yeah, like games will, but I don't know. I don't like it because it's just like I like to have the option of being like, oh, if I do want a digital game, then I can get a digital game. But like I can go into Walmart and get like half of these games, like especially the newer games are like $10-$20 less. But like, okay, I'll give an example because I went into Walmart the other day because I was like, oh, maybe I'll get the new Pokemon game. I went there, they were sold out because they only got like a few. And then they're like, it was what? $10-$20 less, which is like wild because everybody's like, Nintendo games are never cheap. Go to Walmart, people. Anyway, they're like, the clerk was like, oh yeah, like what we had was already gone, but we have the digital like code, and the digital code is like the normal price. So why? And I was like, well, I'm not gonna pay the $10-$20 more to get like a digital game when I could literally just go into the store and just hope that I'll find, eventually it'll probably go, because I'm not really like hurting for it anyway. I was just like, oh, since I'm here in the neighborhood, let me see. And the same thing with any other games. Like at this point, I just go to Walmart because they're like slightly cheaper. And then if I want like a digital sale, it's gonna have to be like later down the line anyway. So I'm either gonna wait for a digital sale or really need the game and then pay like more money. Obviously, this wouldn't work worldwide, of course, only if you have a Walmart. But trust me, Walmart is my hidden gem. I go there, I get my games, especially new releases. And they're always like on discount forever, it feels. Because like I can go in there and it's like, oh, let's say if I want Luigi's Mansion, I can still pay like $40 for it versus like the $60.
Yeah, over here it's the same. Like retailers is definitely the way to go with games. Like I remember
Mhm.
every time whenever I was buying more games, because these days I honestly don't. I either try to get games for free to stream them, or I just try to get like not get rid of, but like shave off my my backlog a little bit, because I've built it up so much. But whenever I would get Nintendo games, like I have a ton of physical versions because of that exactly. Like I could literally pre-order games and like have them be like 10 to 15 to like 20% off, and it's like the same version that everyone else is playing. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get it cheaper, of course. And even for sales, like good luck getting a main Nintendo girly on sale, as far as like Pokemon and Mario and stuff like that on sale. But with retailers, like if you keep an eye out for those, like those will definitely have sales often where like, buy 2 games and you get a certain discount, or buy them like 30 to 40% off or something like that. Like retailers really do that because, like Pan said, like everyone is so focused on digital that the retailers, like they're like, we need to make money somehow. So, and we need to get these copies off of the shelves. So like, I'm assuming even Nintendo themselves are like, y'all need to sell those copies. Even if y'all have to like put them on sale, I don't care what you do, you need to sell those copies. So at the end of the day, yeah, we win until physical copies are no longer a thing in gaming, which I don't think will happen in the foreseeable future. But until then, if you're a physical girly, then you will win at the end of the day a lot of the times, because you won't get that much convenience out of it, but you will definitely get like the discounts and like all of that fun stuff that you maybe don't get with Nintendo specifically. So there's also that.
Yeah, because I think like most of my digital games are like sometimes it's like not quite AAA, but like maybe like bigger studios. But most of the time, I'm just like buying indie games because like that's the best way, obviously, the only way to really get them. And I always like to go through like the Nintendo eShop sales, and I'll be like, what indies are on sale today? Or like I just like one because they're always like what $15 at max for an indie game.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'll take those, and then I'll go into the store and be like, what's on sale for like $30?
Right.
For me, it's like I've always been physical until I like got my PlayStation 4, just because of like how easy it was. Because I was like, I don't want to leave the house. And like all the times I've like ordered a game, like the one time I ordered World of Final Fantasy and it shipped, and like the disc, like, not the disc, but the case was completely shattered.
Oh no.
And just like having to wait a while for it to arrive, I was just like, yeah, like I want digital. But at the same time, I've had so many issues where I bought digital and I like regretted it. Like I pre-ordered and bought Kingdom Hearts 3, didn't really enjoy it, and I'm stuck with it. I can't sell it like I
Yeah.
could if it was physical. I couldn't do anything with it. It's just in my library, and I just play it if I hate myself. And it's like the same way with Super Monkey Ball. Like I bought that digital because I was like, I didn't want to wait or pay for shipping, and then that ended up being another game that I was like, damn, I regretted buying it because I literally have the PS2 game and I would have been fine with just that. So it's like I'm just stuck with my digital games. Like that's definitely like a big thing too. If everything was to change to digital, like unless it's like Steam, we won't really have much of a like return policy, especially on PlayStation. Like it's
Yeah.
over if you buy it. So it's just I think I'm like really hoping that physical copies stay around longer too, because like I'm like, please give it to me. But also the side note about selling games off of the shelves is so funny because every time I go to the Walmart, I still see this one copy of Pokemon Black 2 just in the shelves for $35.
Oh,
I think it's so
no.
funny every time.
Ah.
Sometimes I'm tempted to buy it, but it's always so interesting to still see on the shelves.
Right. It's so funny to kind of like browse around and you're like, oh, this copy is still here. You just
Right.
watch it rot.
It's like an old relic.
Right. Like this has been here for 10 years. Wow.
Oh, that's funny. Well,
Hmm.
speaking of our gaming habits, should we move on to our second part of the podcast where we talk about what we've been playing? Shall we? Alrighty. Tex, what have you been playing?
As of today, I'm no longer a gamer. I don't play games anymore.
I am the Boom Boom game. No, I'm just kidding.
What about you, Koga? Y'all think I'm kidding.
Yes.
I have no games on my mind right now, unfortunately. So I'm existing. What about you, Koga?
Oh my god, not even Final Fantasy?
No, my sub ended today.
Oh,
Oh, rip.
Oh, well.
Discord told me you were playing it earlier today.
Well,
Oh,
I was saying goodbye.
Well, I've actually been on vacation, and you would think that I've been playing a lot, and that's actually incorrect. I've been playing, of course, Killer Instinct 1 and 2 and Battletoads on like that big thing right there. And then outside of that, just I got King of Fighters 15 for my birthday. My birthday was this past Monday. Hooray.
Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
birthday.
Thank you. Feel free to send me money.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Discord is cutting out. It's so weird.
Okay, that's all right. You can hear it when you edit it. Editor, please put that in. But no, that's
Cut that
pretty much
out.
all I've been mostly playing. I think I feel like I'm missing. Well, Dokkan obviously, but that's.
Mhm.
Oh, I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel for like one day.
Oh god.
Oh my lord. So I played with some friends, which it was fine. But like my roommate came down here to watch me play someone, and like she came down like 15 minutes later, and I was still playing the same person because it was just taking forever. This person was literally, I swear, in one turn, even on my turn, was just summoning things, and I'm like, I'm not even about to read all this. I'm hoping to cook you this next turn, but like. The game is fine, but some of these things it just takes forever, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna read that. We'll worry about the consequences later.
Right, like that's more of a Yu-Gi-Oh thing in general, and less of a like the specific game, because the game is doing exactly what the card game is supposed to, which I didn't realize how much of a pain in the ass it was. Like Jesus.
Yeah, the game is fine. Like I said, you just have to, when you first start, you have to be like smart with your gems. I've already had one of my roommates not do this. So, and I don't know, I guess the ones who I was in the room with didn't either. So they were kind of surprised how I kind of ran through them a little bit. But I'm like, you literally, before you like throw your gems, whatnot, find a deck you want to use. Do what I did. I went on YouTube, saw a deck, it looked good, and I just like, mine. Like this game it's free to play, but they're gonna want you to spend money. So therefore, I'm gonna make sure I have the most fun as possible. So I did that, and that seemed to be working pretty well.
We'd love to see it.
How about you, Lotus? What have you been playing this week?
I haven't been playing too much. I've been busy. I started playing Lost Ark because every gay person on the planet is playing it right now, and I like having an excuse to play with friends because I don't play like any multiplayer games except for Fortnite. I like it. I bounced off of 14 because it tried to make me pay money and it's fucking hideous. And Lost Ark has hideous UI, but the rest of it is pretty and it's free. So yes, I am enjoying it. Also, fighting is very visceral in that game. I play a bard, and I make annoying little harp noises with literally every single spell that I cast, and then everything blows up into big chunks, and it's very entertaining. Because it's like Diablo Path of Exile, where you're fighting like a gajillion things at once, instead of just like a couple like big weird dudes. So I'm having fun with it so far. Other than that, I've mostly been browsing games to play when I have time, as opposed to actually playing them.
That's
So
fair.
that's fun.
Ants.
Ooh, I feel that though. I feel like I am browsing a lot of games and I'm like, ooh, this would be fun to play. This would be fun to play. But like I lack the time to play games. But I do have a game to talk about. Yes, I have played a game. It's called Everhood. I know everybody I'm late to the game.
Oh,
I've had it in my library for a very long time. It feels. I finally picked it up and I've been playing it. I guess I got to like one ending or something. I don't even know. It's like I guess Undertale. It's like a bullet rhythm game, but feels like Undertale too. It's very fun. It is not very great for anybody who's sensitive to flashing lights, spins, all of that. It literally, there was one round where like the map just started spinning and it went upside down and I'm like, ah!
Oh no.
Oh no.
And like the background is like doing all these things and I'm like, I literally cannot focus at this point. But it's a lot of fun. I am enjoying it though. It was a struggle at first because I have it on my Switch. Yeah, so it's a bit of a struggle on there sometimes. Only just because of like movement. It would be easier if I had like a keyboard. So sometimes I like go between like using the joystick or just like the keypad instead. Or the D-pad, whatever. And I go between both of them because it's just like whichever one feels good. Because like moving around, I'd rather use like the joystick. And then if I'm like, you know, doing like the rhythm, I don't even want to call them fights because they're not. You're just like dodging, but you're like, it's like Mega Man Battle Network where you're just kind of like in the plane and there's like just like 5 different slots that you have to like can like move through, and It's a lot. It took a little while to get used to, and I'm only playing. They have like a lot of difficulty levels, and I think I'm playing on like normal. And they're like, hard is the best way. But I was like, oh no, I'll play normal. And then I got my ass handed to me immediately. And I was like, you know what? As a person who loves rhythm games, what happens? And then I play a lot of mobile games, but I'm not going to talk about that. What about you, Ruby?
Well, I feel like I haven't been doing too much. I forget if I mentioned this last week, so if I'm repeating it, then too bad. But I did beat Final Fantasy 1. I avenged the characters that I failed on my challenge, and I took them to the end of the game, and that game is fun. Like, I only had to do a certain level of grinding to like be able to afford like certain spells and stuff like that. So, like, kind of midway-ish through the game, and then after that I didn't feel like I had to do any grinding or anything. I just had to like show up to whatever stores I was in and be like, okay, I'll buy everything, and then I just kind of blew through the game. The last boss only took me a couple tries. So yeah, it was cute. Like, definitely the pixel remaster is certainly like probably one of the best ways to play Final Fantasy 1 as far as like visually. The only thing that bothers me about it is the font. Like, you had it all. You had it all. And the only thing you needed was a pixely kind of font, and they decided to choose the most basic font. You might as well have used like Comic Sans at this point. Like, that font is so ugly. It takes you out of the experience completely, and they still haven't fixed it. They're just like, they're gonna release Final Fantasy 6, the like pixel remastered, and they still kept the font, the ugly ass font. Fix it, please, Square Enix. I'm begging you. But yeah,
Just mod it until then.
yeah.
Just
You can mod it. You can definitely. I think people have some like workarounds to make it like better looking. But I just wish that, they kind of looked at the feedback and they were like, you know what, let's just implement this. Like, I'm assuming. Listen, I'm no game dev, but I'm assuming changing the font of a game isn't like the worst thing in the world to accomplish. So I don't know, but that's just me. As far as like what I've been doing on stream, I've actually been having a fun time with Uncharted. I've been playing it in Portuguese dub, and it's been fun to kind of see like the little differences in dialogue, which I've noticed is kind of toning down the language a little bit, because Portuguese cuss words tend to be a little bit harsher than like some palatable cuss words, if you will, as far as like the rating goes. So I just noticed like a couple of differences in that, but I've been having fun with that. It's just like a silly little game, a relic from the PS3 days, if you will. It definitely feels like a PS3 game, even if it looks prettier. Obviously, I'm playing the PS4 version. I'm not about to, buy it like even prettier. Well, not that I can't. Is it on PC? Or
No,
Not yet.
it's PlayStation exclusive right now.
Wait, which game?
Well,
Uncharted?
Oh, of course. That
we'll probably eventually get it on PC.
I
'cause
think,
they're-
yeah,
The
I
only
think they are bringing it,
slowly.
right?
we're getting 4, but I don't know about 1, 2, and 3. We're getting
Yeah.
4,
Yeah.
and
Well,
whatever one that came after that, that's not called 5.
Yeah,
Just
it-
get
Oh, wait a
Kingdom Hearts 3 on
second.
its
No,
own.
Oh,
it is
no,
on
like-
PC, isn't it?
1, 2, and 3?
The company I worked for just reviewed.
No.
No,
Wait.
1, 2, and 3
Google.
aren't. The only way you're doing 1, 2, and 3 on PC is if you use a good old PS3 emulator. But they're gonna
Okay,
put
yeah.
4 on PC.
Oh, because they also put the spin-off one as well. I always forget that that's not.
Lost Odyssey, yeah.
Yeah, I always forget that that's not like one of the first games, because the phrase "Lost Legacy" just sounds like it should be the first one.
Mhm.
Or like
remaster.
the first trilogy or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And they're calling it like a different name too. Like, they're calling that collection like the like
Yeah, they call it like a collection.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's all of them.
A collection of like two
Two
different
games.
games in the series.
Right.
The newest games. Like, wow, a collection.
It's 2 games. Come on now.
They
but
said
yeah,
we did so much.
We worked so hard.
we went so hard. Yeah, so other than that, like I'm still playing my Final Fantasy challenge, and actually tomorrow, off of the time of this recording, I'm actually going to be diving into the newest Voice of Cards game. I just recently got approved but to get a key from Square Enix, so I'm going to jump right into that soon and get my first impressions on, which I will discuss next week. If I manage to show up to the podcast, if not the week after, because I'm also doing some charity stuff, but more on that when we do promote, which let's promote ourselves, shall we? Like, let's give ourselves a little bit of a shout out. So Zax, why don't we start with you? Retired gamer, Dextralicious.
No longer talking about games anymore. You can see me crying on Twitter at Dexismath. And you can also find me at YouTube and Twitch, not doing anything because I don't play games anymore, at Dextralicious. Thank you.
Because you can only do games on Twitch, right?
Yeah, and YouTube especially.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's only those 2 platforms.
Yeah, Dex has never done art before. Don't perceive that.
I don't know what art is. I've never looked at an art before.
As they point to the art behind them. What about you, Koga?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Koga_Jangles. Still not back to streaming yet, but probably soon. Because I just took like a vacation this past week to just like not be on almost anything. I've tried to be off Twitter. That didn't.
But I feel that we all just kind of sigh, like, ugh, yeah.
Y'all are on Twitter?
Yeah, we're on the tweeters. But yeah, probably soon. But I haven't figured out like what I'm gonna do yet when I come back for it, because I don't want to be streaming games that are like 50-something hours, and I have to only like 2-3 hours per stream. That takes forever. That's how things don't get done. So figure something out. How about you, Lotus?
You can find me at Lotus Loves Lotus on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. My streaming schedule is very sporadic nowadays, so I was gonna say turn notifications on, but Twitch notifications don't work. So just follow me on Twitter, and you'll find out. Got a video on upcoming PC indie games coming out in like a few hours, I think. I think when I was talking about it, I kept saying Sunday, but I meant to say Saturday.
Oh.
So oops, surprise. But yeah, I got that. I bought a bunch of itch games recently too, so hopefully I'll be able to do something with that and talk about them and how cool that they seem to be. And that's about it for me.
Yes. Pants.
Yes, you can find me everywhere at Panstrabian, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, I guess Twitch as well. We don't know what's going on over there. I guess Twitch. I'm still on a hiatus. Who knows when I'm gonna come back, because it's wild for work. But I did film a K-pop unboxing, and I put that on YouTube, and that is up. And I have 2 others that I need to go through, and it is very janky. I am sorry. I was in my kitchen recording it. I was in my kitchen. My dog was barking. There's some hard cuts because my dog was just really going wild during some of them. But they're out there. It's my very first one that I uploaded. I uploaded it. I have not promoted it because I barely am on Twitter as well nowadays. But yeah, how about you, Ruby?
Iconic. You can find me at Project Ruby on Ko-Fi, on Twitter, on Twitch, and YouTube. I will be partaking in Game Blast this week. It's basically an event that is supporting Special Effect, which is a UK charity that works to make gaming more accessible, which we love. We love accessibility in gaming. So yeah, I'm going to be teaming up with Team Sega again. I teamed up with them during Pride, so I'm teaming up with them again for Game Blast. So you can expect streams throughout the week where I'm going to be playing a lot of different Sega games and raising money for charity. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. If you would like to follow our other co-hosts that are doing iconic things on their own, you can definitely find their links as well in the description of YouTube and the podcast services that you're listening to. And yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening. We appreciate you a lot. Feel free to click on that like, subscribe, follow, whatever buttons you see. Click on those as long as they're positive. If they're negative, you can keep it to yourself. Truly, honestly speaking, we don't need negativity here. But yeah, we'll be back next week for another episode. And until then, have a great week, you icons. All right, bye.
Bye.